This is I'm Stark, and in this video we are looking at French Indochina and the Geneva Conference. So first of all, we'll look at French Indochina, because after Laos and Cambodia had been granted autonomy, and that's the right of self-government, in 1947, Indochina also wanted this autonomy. And in 1950, the Americans supported the independence of French Indochina. And this was at the time when the popular communist leader Ho Chi Minh, who was supported by both Stalin and China, proclaimed the existence of a Democratic Republic of Vietnam, which he had founded in 1945. Now, Ho Chi Minh was a hard communist and a nationalist, and it was extremely important throughout the history of Vietnam. Now, this meant that both communist and nationalist forces placed pressure on the French so that they could gain independence. And worried by the domino theory, especially as Southeast Asia was seen as very vulnerable, Vietnam held significant geostrategic importance within Asia, and Vietnam was also a useful marketplace for Japanese goods to support the Japanese economy. Eisenhower decided that he would support the French. Nevertheless, the French suffered their first defeat in October 1950 in the Battle of Route Colonial 4, by 1952 they had suffered 90,000 casualties in their defense of Vietnam. Now, by 1954, the US were ultimately paying 75% of war costs, despite the fact that they wanted a diplomatic solution rather than entering themselves into an unwinnable war. Now, during the months of March and May 1954, the Battle of Dien Bien Phu occurred. And this proved to be a major turning point, and by the end of the battle the French withdrew and recognised the Democratic Republic of Vietnam. Now, the French were ultimately defeated by the Viet Minh, who were the nationalist and communist force who controlled much of North Vietnam. And Dien Bien Phu was also the first time in which a non-European nationalist force had defeated elite troops from a European colonial power. So after the French lost in Vietnam, a peace conference was called in Geneva, and this essentially acted as a ceasefire rather than a long-term solution. And it was agreed that Vietnam would be split along the 17th parallel. French forces would move out of the north and nationalist forces would move out from the south. Now, this division was expected not to be permanent, and a national election would be held in 2 years. Now, during this 2-year period, no foreign troops could enter Vietnam. Now, the US refused to sign the agreement as they believed that national elections would result in Ho Chi Minh assuming the whole country. However, they did commit to abiding by the agreement. Now, instead, the US supported the non-communist regime that was being set up in the south, and the leader of this regime was the anti-communist Ngo Dinh Diem. Now, Eisenhower summarized the US position towards South Vietnam as supporting a non-communist government to eliminate any pro-communist subversion or influence, but as we'll find out later, the US started to become very involved in Vietnam, leading to the Vietnam War, which we've already got a series on if you wanted to watch that. So thank you and see you soon. Bye.